Welcome to Femme Parler Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Shirley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Today, we're going to be talking about marriage from a divorced woman perspective. No one wants to get married and get a divorce. How does one get to that point? Should you only get married once? Why is divorce so shamed upon? Our vows are till death do us part. Does that mean forever? Today, we have our wonderful guest, Alicia Hawthorne. She is the founder and CEO of Belsaya Naturals. It is a natural skincare company that creates authentic and homemade skincare products that are free of additives and toxins. So I would like everyone to welcome Alicia Hawthorne. Alicia, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great, of course. Thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate it, so we can have this discussion today. All right. So the first question we're going to start off with is, how do you feel about marriage, Alicia?
I believe that marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a commitment between two people who decide to say, hey, I want to be with you for the rest of my life. And make it, that commitment is so dear and it's serious. And it does involve sorry, Sir Shirley.
It's okay.
It does involve that commitment between two individuals who did make that decision to move forward.
Okay. Now, since you are a mature woman who've experienced marriage already, is this the same thinking you had before? And is this the same thinking you have now? What you just said to us, is it how you thought about it before? And even though you've had a divorce, is your thinking still the same?
Yes, I do believe it does involve two committed individuals who want to make it work for the long haul. But divorce has skewed, of course, it's skewed the opinion the views that I had before. It kind of made me think twice about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind sharing, what views did you have before? Did you think, this is going to be my forever?
Yes.
I'm not getting a divorce.
Yes.
Those were the views, right?
Those were the views. And coming from a traditional Christian mindset and background, it was, like you said, till death do you part. And it was, no, we're going to work this thing out, but regardless what happens, we're going to always be together. Yep. It's changed a lot.
It's changed. Yeah. Okay. Now, would you appreciate the change and what you're going through now? I do know the divorce is still fresh, but you don't see the change as a negative because you still have positivity for life for getting married again.
Yes, totally. I never thought, of course, like you said, it's still fresh. I'm still trying to discover who I am. It's things that I would love to do. Now I know what to apply to the next relationship, like never lose yourself. That's the biggest thing. Now it's refreshing. It's kind of bittersweet because I'm learning who I am again. This allowed me to really rebuild every relationship, whether it comes through a friendship that ends or a marriage that ends. You have to take something from it. And from this, I've taken some tools that could help me be prepared in the future for another partner. So it's bittersweet. Yes, a bitterness came from a long-lasting relation. Well, not long-lasting, a long-term relationship. And now it's like, okay, that was bitter. It's over. But now let's find the sweet in it and so I definitely see something positive coming from a future relationship because I'm using this time to rebuild me.
The other question I have, and I wanted to add this little comment because someone else had used this term for marriage. She phrased marriage as a luxury item. And I actually liked when she said that. So it goes along with this question. Do you feel marriage is necessary, or do you feel it's a luxury item for I guess what I'm really trying to get at is, do you feel as though it's for others, or do you feel as though it's for the two people? When you think of marriage as a luxury item, do you feel as though marriage is necessary? And I guess give a response from both perspectives, because you may have felt it was necessary before you got married, but now do you feel as though it is even necessary, or do you feel at this stage in your life it would be a luxury item?
Yep, I do. I see exactly what she means. It would be a luxury item because it looks good. I think mine could be of, this one didn't work. Let me see if I could get the luxury of having one that could work. Nah, you could look at it that way. Almost like, hey, this could work. The next one could work, but could it or would it? Yeah, I think that people do look at it as it looks good on paper. It looks good for family or friends or social media, whatever. It looks good. It's a luxury to be married. It's a benefit, some people may think, to be married. And now I've changed that view. I had that view before. Like, this looks good. We just look like it's just going to, oh, yeah. And then once you make that commitment and the rubber meets the road, it's like, wait a minute. Is this as luxurious as I thought it would be? No, my view has changed. I don't think that marriage is necessary, but that comes from a place of being complete. We should never look for a partner to complete us. We should come completing ourselves, so to speak, like God do the work within us, and the partner will be an asset to what God has already started within you.
And you're absolutely right, Alicia. And I have to say, even though, as you know, as my friend, I'm not legally married, but younger Shirley always assumed that, oh, this person is going to complete me. This person is going to complete me. By no means is that true at all whatsoever. You should already be whole and complete and in a solid place as an individual before you either enter. We're talking about a long-term commitment with someone else.
Exactly.
That you're learning as you go, because to me, it doesn't matter how many years you've been with someone. Change is consistent. People change. We know ourselves as individuals, we change.
Yeah.
So we should definitely not fault our partner when that change starts to take place. And now we have to adapt, because this person you've been with for like 10 years is going through some phase in their life. And you're like, oh, do I like this? Do I not like this?
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I definitely don't like the word complete me, because no other human should complete you. You need to come whole. Like, you need to be together already before we enter into this union, because if I'm completing you, then this is a problem.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
Okay. Yes, I do like that. Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. I like how you explain that. So I want to ask you, why should people get married? And when I say why should people get married, do you think people should get married right away? Do you think they should wait? Do you think they should even get married at all, based on your experience? And I say that because you have people that got married within a year of meeting each other, and they're still together to this day. But also, we know there are people that got married right away and they may have separated. So really, truly, let's be honest. It's a numbers game. You can't really put a numbers on it, because rather you've been with somebody for a short period of time or long period of time, you can't foresee the future. So for people who are going to get married, or who are freshly married, or I shouldn't say freshly, why should people get married? Just why?
That's a very, very, very good question. It's like, it's a really good question. I believe maturity has to play a part. And when they decide that, okay, you're going to be my forever partner, that's that next step of commitment to seal the deal. But why? Is it, like you said, is there a timetable? It's so hard to place. It's an individual journey. If you decide, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to make it work, and you're going to have a partner that's going to be willing to work with you, it could be successful whether you're together less than a year or 10 years before you make that commitment. I don't know why people should get married. You got to think about it from this. I know that sounds really bad, but why? Because I guess I'm looking from the other side of this thing. Would it have been better if we waited? If it would have been better if we got married instantly? I don't know. It's an individual thing. And you got to have two partners that are ready to take that risk. It's a risk that you take.
You're absolutely right.
It's really a risk. I would say I would hope people would get married to be committed to that long haul and ride this thing out. But yeah, it's coming from a very skewed perspective on my end because I don't look at marriage the same anymore. So if I had to choose, I probably wouldn't have. Yeah, you can't really say. I'm sorry. You can't really say.
I respect your opinion, and you got to remember everyone's looking at it from a different viewpoint.
Yeah. I was a fairy like you. You were a little girl who dreamed of in that white dress, like I was. Like, oh, you had this fairy tale in your mind, and when something comes and kind of skews your fairy tale, now you look at marriage totally different.
Absolutely.
Totally different.
You do.
That's where I'm coming from. That little girl is not twirling in the wedding dress anymore. She's like, wait.
No, and you're right. I had that same viewpoint. Oh, I'm going to have this big affair. Everyone's going to come. Yeah. Second cousins, third cousins, long distance friends. Oh, yeah, this person from high school needs to be there. This is how you think.
Yes.
But then, as time goes on, you're like, that's not because now?
Yes.
That's not even a priority to me anymore. And Alicia, remember, I'm not even married. I'm in a very long-term commitment with my partner.
Yes.
We're not even married. But if and when we do move forward to legalize it, because that's really, truly what it would be. If we were to do it, it would just be a legalized thing for us.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want the big shebang.
No.
I don't want all these people there. I've said it many times. I'll be surprised if I even have 20 people at my wedding.
Yeah.
So I totally understand. Why should people get married? Yeah. Personally, I do believe it needs to be an individual decision. I definitely want to say it is a risk that you take. Just like if you go into a business venture, you're taking a risk. Marriage is a risk because you don't know what the long-term outcome is going to be. No matter how you phrase your words, maybe in your first relationship, you said, you know what, I probably shouldn't have been this way or asked this question. So I'm going to do things differently in this second relationship. No matter how hard you try to at times rephrase your words or do things differently than you did in your first relationship, it is a risk that you're taking because you don't know what the long-term outcome is going to be.
Yes.
And it goes back to the last question that you asked that we had just talked about. No one should complete you. You need to already come into this situation whole and solid and grounded and know I am good without you.
Yeah.
If we can fit that word luxury in, you are a luxury that I am adding into my life, and you should bring me benefit.
Yes.
You shouldn't complete me in any way because financially, emotionally, mentally, I should already be grounded myself. That's just how I look at it now, but I didn't look at it that way before. So, why should people get married? Number one, as you said, it needs to be an individual decision, because if you're thinking this person's going to be a financial benefit, wrong. If you think this person is going to just bring you all the happiness that you get, wrong, because we already know the first few years of the relationship are probably the perfect part of the relationship. As time goes on, things start to change a little bit. That person may ruffle your skin of how they snore at night or when they get up in the morning, or the fact that in my relationship, I'm very organized. I like things to be put back where they were. I can maybe talk to my kids a certain way, but I can't tell this grown man who is already an adult, oh, you need to do this. This needs to be. No, because I can't talk to him the way I may speak to the kids. And because he is not as organized as I am, I just need to have a different approach. I can't to be mad at it and say, oh, this is the reason why I need to leave you because you don't organize things properly. Marriage is also about compromising, sacrificing, and realizing that, okay, this person may not wash the dishes, so it's not a reason for me to leave the relationship. How can I work around that, or how can I make it work? Communication. So these are all the nitty gritty of being married.
Yes.
that we don't even take the time to think about. So now I want to ask you another question. Surprise you with this question, I guess I'm going to say, is this is off of the why should people get married? Do you think people should live together before they're married? Now, speaking from two different perspectives, I should say. Do you think it's necessary? Do you think it should happen?
That's a wonderful question. See, I look at it from a perspective of, once again, in the Christian perspective, no, it's shunned upon to live together before you're getting married. It's shunned upon. But when I look at my situation, it's like you see a different. I never lived with anyone prior to my ex-husband. He never lived with anyone prior. And we became, it was like, gosh, if I would have just lived and known, I would have known that it was kind of like a prelude to marriage. Like if you would have lived together, you would have kind of seen what was going on. So once again, because of what I went through, I'm like, would this have been a little different if I did stay with you to see? So do I think people should live together? Either way you put it, if they do, you're going to see a side of your partner that you didn't see before. And if you don't and you wait to get married, you're going to see it when you get. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Either I live with them previously before we get married and I'm going to see it, a little bit of a prelude to what marriage would be. Or two, I wait and then, oh my gosh, he does this. If I would have only known. Then you'll sit there and say, he lives like this, because they can paint a pretty picture when you're coming by the apartment or the house to see them. They can clean up really quickly. They can put on a good show. But, oh my gosh, he doesn't take the trash out. This is how you live. Like, oh no, this isn't going to work. So it's kind of a catch-22. Once again, it goes back to that individual preference of waiting. But me personally, I look at it a little differently. Like, this is how you handle. These are things we should already know before making that commitment. How do you handle finances? How do you handle the house? How do you clean? These, but sometimes you don't see that until you make the commitment to get married and you live under the roof. But of course, we should kind of get a sneak peek beforehand. So I would have to say it's individual, but if I could change things, I probably want to see kind of a sneak peek of what goes on.
Okay. So I guess based off of what you're saying, as the big thing is, it is individual.
Yeah.
It's ultimately everything is individual. There's no set in stone thing that we can really truly say, you do this and it's going to give you this result when it comes to marriage. No, it's all an individual thing. But based off what you're saying, we know that Alicia is going to take that into strong consideration in her next relationship.
Yes. Look, I need to know what, but then we laugh about it. But at the end of the day, you really won't know until that commitment is completely like made in stone. You really would not know. Once again, it's things that you may not find out until you make that commitment to get married. Whether you live together or you don't. It's some things you really won't know until the test of time comes.
Yeah, you're right. There's things that no matter how hard you try to prevent it or how hard you try to be aware of how the person is, you're not going to know until you're actually day to day waking up together and doing things together. You won't know. And these are topics that a lot of times some people do not have before they get married. How are we going to do the finances? Are we going to keep it individually? Are we going to have all joint accounts? Are we going to have individual and joint accounts? How are we going to separate the bills? Who makes more money? When it comes to money conversations, extremely sensitive.
Yes.
Extremely, extremely sensitive. We don't want to talk about that. I don't want to really get into my finances with you, but they're important and we don't have them. We don't have them. Before you got a divorce, did you look at marriage from a legal perspective or a Christian perspective? What I mean is, was marriage something, I have to do this because it's the legal thing to do? Or did you look at it, me as a Christian, this is something I need to do. It's necessary. How did you view it before and how are you viewing it moving forward in future relationships?
I would have to say that I viewed it as, of course, a Christian perspective. It was just a part of once again, that traditional upbringing and biblically how God views marriage as a ministry. And so I looked at it as that this is, once again, a skewed view of this can complete me as a Christian. This is what my duty is, not only my ministry to Christ, but I have a ministry at home. And now it's like, wait, once again, it's one of those other things. Once you're divorced, you look at things a lot differently. I think it's a good thing to, if it's biblically done, meaning what the Bible says about how marriage is basically, summing it up, it's a dance between two individual people who decide to make Christ the center of their commitment, and he treats the wife as Christ treats the church, and she respects her husband, and it could be a beautiful dance if done between two individuals who view the same thing as what the Bible speaks of. But it can be a horrible nightmare if one person is viewing it as the Bible views it, and the other person is like, may take the, I guess you could say, the world's view of it. It's just like, it could be a partner using another partner, or just to, it's hard to explain it, but when that person is disrespected or mistreated and it becomes something that's a beautiful nightmare, then it's like, wait a minute, maybe I should step back. And so once again, it goes back to the individual. If that other person is going to treat you as Christ stated for us to treat, and you treat that person the same way, it could be a beautiful dance, a beautiful commitment. As of now, going forward, I still have that Christian viewpoint of marriage. I would love to meet someone who views it as Christ views it, and it could be beautiful. Yes, we're going to have our ups and downs, but to have that person who has that root of Christ in the decision making, or in the process of this growth that you're doing together, it could be beautiful. We see the outside of a lot of things. Of course, I've seen marriages of two Christian couples that come together, and it looks so beautiful, and they handle things with grace, and they allow God to take them through it. And yes, they have their ups and downs, but it's handled differently.
Exactly.
And that I desire that same beautiful dance that can be hard at times, but it could be beautiful at the same time. That's what, going forward, I desire that.
Wonderful. I like that response. I liked how you said that. And I wanted to also add, when I say legal, not only in the eyes of the state that you're in, you all know, me being from Haiti as a foreigner, a lot of people have gotten married for legal reasons, for benefits, maybe for their citizenship. And that's why I asked, how do you view marriage too? Because I've also heard of people getting married for financial gain, maybe for health benefits. So that's why I say from a legal standpoint. But either way, you see it from a Christian viewpoint. It's not legal for you, and that's not something you would be interested in, any financial gain with anybody getting married. Okay, gotcha. Now, I wanted to get a word of advice from you. We're both mothers. You have two children. You have an older daughter. Of course, my daughter's not as old as yours, but she's right around the corner from that dating age. Your daughter, how old is your oldest daughter's 19?
She's 20. She just turned 20.
So, you have a young lady out into the world right now. Regardless if she's dating or not, as her mother who's wise, experience, what advice would you offer her to all the 20-year-olds out there, 21-year-olds, our younger women who are thinking of, yes, I do want marriage, or no, I don't want marriage? What advice do you have to offer them based on what you would give your 20-year-old daughter?
It's funny you said that. I'm always having those type of talks with her. The first thing I told her, find you first. Go to school, complete your degree, live your life. You have no responsibilities right now. You could travel the world. You could go study abroad. You could do whatever you wanted to do. And like we were talking about earlier, complete you first.
Yes.
Complete you first, because if you tie yourself in a relationship with someone who's not complete, you're not complete. That relationship is not going to be complete. You guys you're going to have the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I should have never dated him. I should have did this. No, do all the things you want to do as a young woman. And so when that man comes along, you've already established yourself. And if he doesn't work, you're not going to take his crap, so to speak. If a guy comes in and he's not together and he's not trying to do things on the level that you can go on about your life and say, look, no, I'm not going to settle for this because I did it. I lived my life. Now I'm not going to complete you, and I don't want you to complete me. That's the biggest advice I've given to her over this time span is please just complete you. Go finish your degree. Go travel the world if you want to. Just live your life and complete you first.
I'm hearing from you, and it's one thing that I do tell my daughter from also my life experience is make sure you're good. Make sure you can handle yourself.
Yes.
That person is an addition, but they're not completing you. They're a luxury addition, and you both should, the puzzle should fit. The puzzle should fit. And it's interesting you say that as, make sure you're good. It is always important. Marriage, as we are ending part 1, I wanted to let our listeners know there's no concrete answer when it comes to why you should get married, why you shouldn't get married. As we all said, if you've listened to this, it's all an individualized decision on what is best for you and that person. It would be great if Alicia and I had the solid answers to provide of, again, as I say, you do this, it's going to yield this result. You do this, it's going to yield this result. But as people, we change, we grow, we evolve. And there's no wrong in that. It's just, that puzzle that may fit 10 years ago might start to get a little torn or warped, or you just have to figure out how to mend it back to what it was. One advice I would like to give is don't look at everything from a negative standpoint. Alicia said marriage is a risk. Marriage is a risk, but everything in life is a risk. We have to be blessed and fortunate that every single day we wake up and we are given this life to live the best life that we possibly can. No one knows the answer to the future, because if we all knew the end result, just think about it. Do you think Alicia would have ever gotten married? No, she took a risk. And at the end of the day, she is a mature woman that's taking this situation that happened in her life, and instead of dwelling on it and just focusing on the negative so bad, she's taking that and she's turning it into a positive and moving forward with her life. Everyone's situation is different. There are some people that may be so scorned by marriage, they don't want to move on or get married again because it has given them such a bad taste in their in life that that's not something I'm ever going to do again. I'm only going to have a life partner. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong in this situation. It's what works for you as an individual. That's what we really, truly want you to take from this. Be grounded and wholeheartedly know yourself and be in a good state before you enter someone's life or before someone enters in your life, because we all know relationships are not easy. From social media standpoint, we always see the sweet part of it. Behind social media, behind the walls of your house, we don't know what's going on. No one ever hears about really truly the bad stuff, but sometimes relationships are always not cut out what it needs to be. But as Alicia said, you can have a wonderful union with someone. Figure out how to make it work. So as we end part 1 today, we're going to continue part 2 next week. In part 2, we're going to find out why Alicia got divorced, and tune in next week for part 2. Thank you. Have a great one. Thanks for tuning in to Fun Palais Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.